Is it recording? Damn, okay, I don't know how much time I have, so I'll get straight to the point. If someone finds this, don't look for me, don't try to understand, just leave. I shouldn't be here, I know that now. But when I received that message, I had no choice. An address, a date, a time, no explanation, no sender. Just that, I could have ignored it. But curiosity, oh, curiosity is a curse. I told myself I'd just take a look, I wouldn't go in. If anything seemed off, I'd turn around and forget it all. But when I arrived at the location, everything already felt wrong. The street was empty. The houses around it were dark, as if no one lived there. Number 17, my destination, was an old structure. Dark, worn wood, windows boarded shut. It didn't look like a place where anyone lived. I stopped in front of the door. It was slightly open. My first instinct was to leave. Something was off. But as I turned around, I noticed something that made me freeze. The street behind me wasn't the same anymore. The houses that had been there were gone. The path I had walked was now a dead end. Okay. Breathe. Stay calm. I turned back to the door and with no other choice I stepped inside. The scent of mold and rotting wood hit me instantly. It was dark, but I could make out furniture covered with white sheets, scattered as if someone had left in a hurry. The floor creaked beneath my weight and the air felt thick. I needed to find a way out. I moved past the foyer, searching for a back door. Nothing. Just a long hallway stretching before me, darkness swallowing everything beyond a few steps. That's when I noticed it. The furniture was moving. I was sure that cabinet had been against the wall when I passed it. Now it was in the middle of the hallway. The chair near the entrance had turned its back to me. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. I kept walking, pretending not to notice. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me. But then, the silence broke. A sound came from the end of the hallway. A scraping noise, slow, deep, dragging against the wood, as if something or someone was waiting for me there. I stopped. I didn't want to go forward, but I couldn't go back. And then I realized the cabinet that had moved, it was closer now, and the chair was no longer empty. Don't look, just keep moving. My brain screamed the warning, but my body refused to obey. I could feel it. Something was sitting in that chair now, but I couldn't look. If I looked, I would be acknowledging its presence, and I didn't want to know what happened after that. The wooden floor creaked beneath my steps as I forced myself forward down the hallway. Each step felt heavier, as if something invisible was pulling me back. The scraping noise continued, but now it wasn't just coming from the end of the hall. It was behind me too, and to the sides and above. And my stomach twisted. My heart slammed against my ribs, my breathing came fast and shallow. It was as if the entire house was waking up, twisting around me. The hallway no longer ended. I kept walking, but the space ahead seemed to stretch further and further, like some endless nightmare. Then I felt it, a hand, cold, damp, fingers brushing the back of my neck. I ran, I forgot all precautions. I didn't care about looking or not looking, my legs moved purely on instinct, carrying me away anywhere but back. The hallway finally ended, but what I found ahead wasn't better. It was a room, furniture covered in white sheets, arranged randomly, like someone had left in a hurry. The wooden floor groaned under my weight, and in the center of the room, there was a mirror, large, old, covered in dust, and I was in it, but I wasn't alone. I turned, nothing, just the dark, empty room. I looked back at the mirror. This time, someone else was there, not a full figure, just a shadow standing right behind my left shoulder, tall, thin. The light refused to touch it, shifting unnaturally around its edges. Every muscle in my body locked up. My eyes burned, but I couldn't blink. And then, it moved, inside the mirror. It took a step forward, closing the space only in the reflection. My heart pounded in my throat. I needed to get out. But when I tried to move, my reflection didn't move with me. It just stood there, staring at me, as if it was waiting. This house didn't want me to leave. It wanted to replace me. This wasn't real. It couldn't be my reflection. It wasn't copying me. It was looking at me. I took a step back. In the mirror, my reflection stayed completely still. Still, as if it was no longer me. My instincts screamed at me to run, but I was frozen in place. The air around me grew thick, carrying a faint metallic scent. My chest rose and fell in shallow breaths. I knew, deep down I knew, that the wrong move could make things even worse. Then, it smiled. Not a normal smile. A slow, unnatural stretch of its lips, revealing far too many teeth. A grin that didn't belong on my face. A distortion of something that used to be me. No, that wasn't me anymore. I recoiled in terror, stepping away from the mirror. But as I turned to find a way out, the room had changed. The furniture was wrong. It wasn't where I had seen it before. The cabinet that was once by the wall now stood in the center of the room. The old dusty rug under my feet had disappeared, and the door I had entered through was gone. I squeezed my eyes shut for a second, trying to steady my breathing. Think, focus. This is a trick. There has to be a way out. When I opened my eyes again, the mirror was closer. I hadn't moved. It had. My chest tightened. My feet refused to move. I didn't know what to do. And then, the reflection stepped out of the mirror. My body locked up. The glass rippled like disturbed water, and something emerged from it. It looked like me, but it wasn't. The eyes were too dark, the pupils too dilated. The skin was too pale, as if it had never seen light. And that smile was still stretched too wide, like a wound carved into its face. I tried to run, but the walls closed in. The room was breathing. The reflection moved toward me. Its feet made no sound on the wooden floor. It didn't walk. It slid forward, unnaturally smooth. My entire body screamed in terror. It stopped inches away from me, close enough that I could feel the unnatural cold radiating off its skin. And then it spoke, not in my voice, but in the voices of everyone who had been trapped here before me.
Your turn.
And then the darkness swallowed me whole. Cold. The first thing I felt was an unbearable, bone-deep cold. It seeped into my skin, my muscles, my bones. My breath came in short, ragged gasps. I tried to move, but my body wouldn't respond. I wasn't in the room anymore. There were no walls, no ceiling, no floor beneath my feet, just an endless void stretching in every direction. No light, no sound, just a distant low hum vibrating deep inside my skull. No, this can't be happening. I tried to speak, but no sound came out. I lifted my hands to my face, but they weren't mine. The skin shimmered, rippling like a distorted reflection in water. My fingers were longer, thinner, wrong. My chest rose and fell in panic, but there was no air to breathe. And that's when I understood. I was inside the mirror. I spun around, desperate for an escape. My eyes darted in every direction, searching for something, anything that could get me out. Then I saw it. The room. Out there, beyond the glass, I could see it. The room I had just been in. The furniture, the creaking wooden floor, the dim, flickering light. And someone was standing there. It was me. Or at least, the thing that had taken my place. I slammed my fists against the mirror, but there was no sound, no impact, just a dull, suffocating silence. He stared back at me. His expression was calm. Too calm, like he had been waiting for this moment all along. Rage and panic burned inside me. I screamed, hammered at the glass, desperate to break through. But the surface didn't even ripple. The imposter smiled. Then, without hesitation, he turned and walked toward the door that now existed again. I pounded on the glass, trying to stop him, trying to do something. He stepped out, and I stayed behind. I watched helplessly as my body walked into my life. Then he turned just before leaving and whispered something. I couldn't hear it, but I understood. I wasn't the first to be trapped here, and I wouldn't be the last. The door closed behind him, and I remained, the cold creeping in, the void swallowing me whole, until, finally, the darkness took me.